Hello guys, in this video you'll get a good understanding of what nerves really are. You will learn the true problem with nerves and that it's not as simple as whether they're good or bad. And I'll give you a tip to make nerves a lot easier to deal with. So stay with me until the end and let's get into it. Nervousness is an emotion, and emotions are a massive part of human psychology. They control most of what we do, really. So to understand nerves, you first need to understand a little bit about emotions in general. Emotions are automatic reactions to things that happen. So for example, if someone jumps out behind a corner to scare you, you jump back immediately before you even know what's going on, right? You don't decide to jump back, it just kind of happens. And that's an example of the emotion fear. When I say emotions are automatic, it means that you have no direct control over which emotions activate inside of you. You can't decide when to feel an emotion or how or why they are triggered. And once you have an emotion, you can't turn it off. You can't just decide to stop feeling it. Even though it's impossible to remove your nerves, it's often a natural reaction to try. And a big reason for that is, of course, because it can feel very uncomfortable to be nervous. All of these are normal physical symptoms to feel. These symptoms can make you think that your brain and body try to make things harder for you and make you believe that nerves are bad, which is another reason you might think you should get rid of them. But fighting your nerves and trying to get rid of them is a common trap that only makes things worse. Even though it might not feel like it, these symptoms are actually meant to help you. You see, being nervous is like turning up the readiness and energy level in your nervous system. It's a primitive reaction meant to help you take on physical challenges. So these symptoms are the result of your body changing to do that. For example, you breathe faster to bring in more oxygen, your heart rate increases to transport that oxygen-rich blood to your muscles, you sweat to cool yourself down in advance, and so on. So even though it can feel uncomfortable, nervousness provides you with a lot of energy and makes your body more ready for action, which is a good thing when you need to perform in a sport. But any emotion will change your mental state as well as your physical state. And so these are normal mental symptoms to feel when you're nervous. Now these symptoms don't seem very helpful, but remember, your brain and body prepare for physical action, not for logical thinking and analyzing. Even though you can't control it, there is always a reason for having an emotion. It's always a reaction to something, just like fear is a reaction to potential danger. And nervousness is a reaction to doing something that is new, challenging, or important to you. So anytime you find yourself in a situation like that, which is most performance situations or any match or competition, you will react by becoming nervous. There's no way around that, it's just how the human psychology works. And because of that, the true problem isn't that you're nervous, because you can't do anything about that. Instead it becomes, how can you perform when you're nervous? But there's one more important thing to understand. There are different levels of nerves. You can be a little bit nervous and you can be super nervous. It ranges from a slight tingle in your belly to full-on feelings of panic. The more nervous you are, the more symptoms you'll feel. So if you feel all of the symptoms I've shown, it means you have a very high level of nervousness. So how nervous should you be for optimal performance? Most people assume it's like this. Less nerves is always better, and not being nervous at all is optimal for performance. But that's not true. In reality, it's more like this. Now this looks confusing at first, but we'll go through it together. Start by looking here in the middle. There's an optimal zone of nervousness for performance, a sweet spot. And on the left side, if your level of nerves is too low, you will be sleepy, slow, and unfocused. Your nervous system is on standby, and you won't be able to perform at your best. And on the right side, if it's too high, you feel overwhelmed, you won't be able to focus and think clearly, and you will have a lot of the symptoms I showed before, and your performance suffers. But right in the middle is the sweet spot. There, your nerves will make you more alert, focused, and physically ready for action. So a moderate level of nervousness is optimal for performance, and at that level, you'll only feel a few of the symptoms. So the most important point here to remember is that nerves aren't bad, and that you actually need to be nervous for optimal performance. So as you can see, it's not as simple as being nervous or not being nervous. And it's also not as simple as nerves being good or bad. It's all about how nervous you are and how you handle it. So one of the most fundamental keys to performing with nerves is to manage your level of nerves and to stay in the sweet spot. And for most people, in most situations, that will mean lowering your level of nerves. And there are many ways to do that with both physical and mental tools and techniques. But I don't want to make this video too long, but you can check out my other videos, and I will expand on many more practical and useful tools and techniques on managing nerves in coming videos. So subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you don't miss any of them. But I got one quick tip for you. Now that you understand how nerves work, try to be more accepting of them and see them as expected and even helpful. That can make a big difference because you'll no longer waste time and energy fighting yourself trying to remove your nerves, and instead you can channel all the energy they provide towards the next action you need to perform in the moment. As a final note, I'll say that this is how nerves work for everyone, but when it comes to managing nerves, you will have to find which tools work the best for you. And if you want help with that, go to my website psychologist.com and book a session. But that's all I had for today. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you next time.